The ripple effect of Donald Trump's tenure. People all over the world have lots of questions about the state of the powerful nation of the United States of America at the moment, which only time will reveal answers to. The three top questions are: is President Donald Trump a racist? Is President Donald Trump going to retain power for 4 more years, like good old George W. Bush Jr. and his war against weapons of mass destruction? Will the United States of America ever be great again? The world, and in particular, people of the United States, need to understand that Donald Trump's tenure, like that of any leader of a powerful nation, has a long-lasting legacy, which in this case I am inclined to call the ripple effect. Cambridge Dictionary defines a ripple effect as a situation in which one event produces effects which spread and produce further effects. Thesaurus provides synonyms such as after effect, aftermath, end result, implication, spillover, reverberation, and so on. In physical sciences, a wave is a good example of such phenomenon and is defined as a disturbance or oscillation that travels through space and time, accompanied by a transfer of energy from one point to another, often with no permanent displacement or mass transport of the particles of the medium. Using this understanding of a ripple effect, which we know can be as destructive as a tsunami, or as insignificant as minor earth tremors, which are usually precursors to major earthquakes, I have identified 5 ripple effects of the president's behavioral trajectory. Effect number 1. Renegation on global responsibilities and commitments. Though at face value, the policy of America First sounds like a reasonable idea, in reality, it has, so far, not yielded the theoretical benefit of keeping jobs and investment in the country by reducing activity on the international stage. The president has withdrawn funding from international environmental programs, claiming that global warming is fake news, and backing out of international covenants which his predecessor had been passionate about. The ripple effect is likely to be that, in future, the rest of the world will not trust commitments signed by a sitting United States president when they know the next one can back out unceremoniously. It is also possible that copycats will emerge in other nations backing out of the contracts. It's both ironical and contradictory that the policy of putting America first has not been applied, as the attempt to reverse the American Health Care Act, Obamacare, was yet another case of reneging from a commitment from a previous regime, though this time at national level. Such a retrogressive policy may have been tested to the limit by the pandemic, during which the president's own performance was weak. Effect number 3. Rekindling of racial division. Racial tensions are at an all-time high in the modern times. Much as most Americans of all races have protested against unfair treatment of minority races by state institutions funded by the taxes paid by the same people being abused, there has not been a genuine attempt to unite the people and ensure that those abusing power are brought to the book in a consistently just manner. The president has taken sides on matters that he would have been expected to act in a more responsible and sensitive fashion. His tweets have disgusted the young and old all over the world. He seemingly acts in a shameless manner, especially on the social media, with no regard to the impact of his messages on ordinary people. He seems to be consciously sowing the seeds of hate and rekindling of old flames. The country has not moved forward during his tenure, and the unrest is reverberating into other countries. Effect number 4. Buckling under competition. It has been very apparent right from the beginning of his tenure that the billionaire President Donald Trump did seem to lack confidence to engage with other leaders in the G20 group. You only need to look at his demeanors and attitude to Angela Merkel of Germany, the Chinese president who, incidentally, was his first guest at his Palm Beach private residence when he came into power, his fallout with the French President Emmanuel Macron, Remember the impressive long handshakes and selfies and then the nasty tweets a year later? And of course, his not-so-glamorous visits to the UK where demonstrations went on and his movements had to be curtailed. The biggest worry as a nation seems to be the fact that he has not been successful in stopping the inroads made by the Chinese and filling the gap, in their own style, left by the Americans on the world stage. This has culminated in expression of discontent when the United Kingdom was considering awarding a lucrative 5G network contract to a leading Chinese technology company. It will be an uphill task for the US to reposition itself back into its traditional world leadership role. The office of the US President will need a very strong and charismatic incumbent to regain its greatness again in the coming years. Effect number 5. Dictatorial tendency. Debates on who holds the power and responsibility between federal government and the state governors under particular situations has been an uncharacteristically hot issue during the current presidency. One could call it a power struggle accompanied with blame game. When things go well, the president has openly tried to get credit for it and bask in the glory, and vice versa when things went wrong. He is one president who does not know where the buck ends. Seeing father, daughter, son, son-in-law, all rubbing shoulders in the corridors of power, it looks like a dynasty in the making, which is a bit unusual considering if it happened in North Korea or Zimbabwe it would be called nepotism. The quality of speeches and conduct at the daily briefings where journalists would be asked to shut up because the line of questioning was not favorable was embarrassing. It left people asking, what next? As the behavior continues to be unstatesmanlike and predictably edgy. You would wonder if he has been taking doses of a household detergent, in addition to the hydroxychloroquine therapy that he so often suggested could prevent COVID-19 coronavirus infection. He also has on a few occasions expressed his admiration of President Vladimir Putin of Russia and Kim Jong-un of North Korea, meeting the latter in two highly celebrated meetings that did not yield anything, as nuclear missile tests have continued right through the period of the pandemic. In conclusion, the American people will decide later this year who leads them into the mid-20s. This is if the president does not push for the postponement of the ballot, which he has mooted, though it's unprecedented. The choice they will make will have far-reaching effect and consequences on their national aspirations and on the world order for the foreseeable future. This is why this debate must continue. So, is President Donald Trump a racist? The answer lies in his reference to African countries, Haiti and El Salvador as shithole countries. What kind of president or human being would utter such words to describe other people? The answers to the questions are pretty simple. Is President Donald Trump going to retain power for 4 more years like good old George W. Bush Jr. and his war against weapons of mass destruction? Yes. Yes, only if the American population does not turn out in numbers to vote. Will the United States of America ever be great again? The question is what greatness really means in the modern globalized world. America needs to reform its electoral system, make it more inclusive through proportionate representation in the houses of power, and overhaul the community policing recruitment and training. Yes, America can. Thanks for listening. Please leave your comments and suggestions below and kindly subscribe to this channel to keep this debate alive.